Hi, I'm Arjita and I'm here with you today sharing a watercoloring technique. I'm using a beautiful stamp set by a company called Inspired by Stamping. This stamp is called Elegant Flowers and has 5 beautiful images. A few of them are roses and I think the other ones are peony. I've taken a small watercoloring paper and I will not be stamping my image with a permanent ink or any other stamp pad, but instead I'll be using one of my markers and I'll just color it quickly all over the image and I'll stamp it on my watercoloring paper. This will help to make it appear like a no line coloring and it will be just very beautiful. I'll keep the image in front of me so as to have a reference, and by looking at it I can add my highlights and shadows accordingly. I'll add pure water in a particular petal, and then after adding my color on an acrylic block, I'll pick up a little color and add it at the place where I think there should be some shadows. I'm using a very basic watercoloring technique which is called wet on wet. Since I scribble some plain water on a particular area and then add my color, the color will start running towards the wet area and will give a beautiful shading. I'm alternating the petals since I don't want the wet areas to be just next to each other, since the flow of the color will not be in control then. I'll be skipping few petals here and there, and then once the earlier petals are dried, we'll add the color there. I'm just using one color here, and with the use of one color and pure water, there can be a lot of dimension which we can get, and it's just so simple and beautiful. The inner petals will have a little darker shade, and I'll keep few areas plain white so that they can give a contrast and some highlights. These are beautiful roses by inspired by stamping, popularly known as IBS, and they're just so fun to paint. As you can see, I'm adding water and just few drops of color at the curve or the place where there should be shadows, and the water helps the color just to blend so beautifully. This gives it all the creases and the natural look to the flowers. If the petal is too wet, I'll just dry it in between with my heat tool, and then I'll be ready to paint the next petal. I think we should be a little conservative while adding colors, because if we add more, we can never get the right thing back, you know. But if we add less, it's always possible to add more color and give it the look we want. I'm just setting my image again and again with the heat tool so that I don't blend the petals along with each other and lose all the shape and definition of the flower. By touching at the edges and just blending it out with water, this flower is turning out to be very beautiful, and I'm planning to make a very simple card with 2 or 3 similar roses with lots of greenery and leaves around it. At this point, I feel my flower is done, and by blending again and again, the flower becomes more natural. But yes, you need to control the water as well as the color. I'll fussy cut the flower with my cutter bee scissors, and I have made three similar flowers with the same technique, and I'm planning to arrange them on a very plain card with lot of leaves around it. Let's see how does my card turn up. Here they are, all the three flowers. And now I'll do a same technique with the leaves. I'm using a beautiful stamp set by Heartfelt Creations called Fluffy Birds, and I'm just using the leaves for the same technique. I'm coloring the leaves with a light green color marker, and then I'll be stamping it on a water paper. I'll be repeating the same watercoloring wet on wet technique here with all the flowers and I'm sorry, with the leaves, and then I'll cut them and shape them, mold them to give a little definition to the entire setting. Here I would like to mention that this technique can also be called a no line coloring, since we've used a light colored ink to stamp the image, and then we fill in the entire image with the darker colors. So the outer areas or the stamped image gets blended evenly, and we cannot actually define where the stamping was done. This is a very beautiful technique and very popular. Now we are ready with all the fussy cut pieces. The flowers and leaves look amazingly gorgeous, and I plan to arrange them on a simple card. I'm using a light colored memento ink called Desert Sand to stamp the image on the card. It's a beautiful way to add a texture to a plain card, and a perfect background to add my super bright flowers on top. Here I'll just start planning my arrangement of the bunch, and I'll just keep the flowers on my card and then arrange the leaves here and there. I want the bunch to look very, very attractive and beautiful, and not overdone as well. And then I realize I'll have to sacrifice one of the flowers, and I'll just go with two of the roses and the leaves. I'll be sticking one of the flowers with the tacky glue and the other one with some foam tape. So the flowers will be in two different heights and will give a dimension to the card. The card is taking its shape beautifully, and I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial and give it a try. Watercoloring is a very, very fun way of coloring, and a very, very economical way of coloring your cards. You don't need to have expensive markers to give this beautiful dimension. A plain, very basic few dollar investment can give you some beautiful results. Thanks for watching. See you soon.